In today's video, we are taking a piece of SEGA history and we're going to turn it into some pretty cool art. Welcome back to the Underground Arcade. My name is Bronson and I'm in the process of building my own arcade at home in this big shed on my property. And you might have noticed in some of the previous videos, if you've been following along for a while, I shoot some of the clips you see in my office, some of the screen recording and stuff we do for some of the software we've been installing. I do it in my office, and I noticed when I was editing the other day, my office is pretty dull. Like, there's no artwork on the walls, there's no mood lighting, nothing like that. It's just plain white walls. So I thought, let's make some artwork and let's make it out of some cool SEGA history. So I picked myself up some frames from Temu, just some cheap, I think they're about $15 frames that we can mount some cool SEGA memorabilia in, and I picked up one of these, the SEGA Light Phaser. I reckon this has got to be one of the coolest peripherals you can buy on the market. Like, I know Namco later on came out obviously with the Time Crisis guns, and there's been all sorts of peripherals for the PlayStation over the years, right? And all sorts of guns and things. I reckon the Light Phaser, hands down, has to be the coolest looking one. This is the SEGA Light Phaser 3050. It looks like something out of Star Wars. You can imagine some Chewbacca noises and insert some Star Wars gun noises here. So this piece of tech here was released in 1986, which makes me feel pretty old. I was born in 1987, so I am nearly 40 years old. This is 40 years old next year, this SEGA Light Phaser, which is pretty amazing, right? 40-year-old gun peripheral for a gaming console, pretty neat. This was released in the North America, the Europe, and the Brazilian regions, and was never released in Japan, which is quite interesting. Now, there are about 14 games that you could use the SEGA Light Phaser for. Games like Assault City, Gangster Town, Rambo 3, Rescue Mission, Wanted, all really cool titles. It did come, there was like a combo pack-in you could buy with the Light Phaser and a game called Safari Hunt, which is quite funny. You guess you're shooting like giraffes and elephants with this space age looking light phaser. So I kind of thought, how neat would that look mounted in a frame? I'll obviously have to do something with the cord. Unfortunately, I might have to cut the cord off. I did pick up two of these, one works and one doesn't. So my goal is to make some artwork out of the one that doesn't work. And the one that does work, I would eventually like to have a full SEGA set up on an old CRT screen and actually try these things out. So yeah, I just thought that would look amazing. Almost like those people that collect guns or old pistols, old revolvers from, the Civil War or whatever, and they mount them in like a shadow box, they call them, but like a deep frame, right? Little plaque underneath that says what it is, when it was released. So I thought that'd be a cool way to start. So our first frame, we're gonna mount this gun, and then I've got some little plaques made, which I found someone on Etsy, actually, made these neat little plaques for me. And they just say SEGA Light Phaser released 1986, and they have the SEGA logo. They're not metal, they're just like a plastic, and the person who made them just must have like a laser machine or something. But I was really impressed. Like, that was the size I went for. I wasn't sure maybe if I should go bigger or smaller. I thought I'd try that. These were made in the UK, shipped out to New Zealand. They were not too expensive, I guess just because they're plastic, but they do look like a neat little plaque, and they do have an adhesive backing on them. So I think what we need to do first is figure out how we're going to mount the gun. My thought originally was to put some hooks under it, to kind of like hook it in place like that. But then I found at my local hardware store some wire, some thin metal wire, and I'm wondering if I can kind of wrap one end with wire. There's a little groove up in this end, and then maybe tie it behind the frame and maybe do the same down here. So just make a hole in the back of the backing board of the frame and have the wire go around the back. It doesn't really matter if the back of the frame's messy, but just a couple of really little, like, sort of hidden bits of black wire holding this gun so it looks like it's floating, and then we'll put the plaque down the bottom. All right, got my little wire here. Unfortunately, my neighbor just started weed eating just right outside my shed, so apologies if you can hear that. What we're gonna do is make a little loop out of this wire, and I don't quite know how we will attach it on the back, but I think what we'll do is get a couple of loops in place first that we can just slide the gun into, and then we'll figure out how to attach it on the back. I suppose I should twist these wires to put a bit of tension on them, maybe. I suppose I could twist them around something as well. Maybe snip the long ends off. Look at that. So that is enough just with the 2 bits of wire to hold that gun up. It does look slightly crooked, I think. Just going to wing this. We're just going to stick it on and it's going to look cool. Yeah. Put that on there. Is it straight? I think so. Please don't fall apart. Please don't fall apart. Please don't fall apart. How cool does that look? It's probably a bit hard to see on camera because the lights in this garage are a bit funny and probably reflecting off it, but that is pretty neat. I probably should have moved the whole thing down a bit and maybe slightly over. Maybe should have drawn some pencil markings in the middle of this and worked it out a bit better, but that is going to look pretty choice on the wall. I should actually give one of these away. I do have a second gun, like I said. Maybe when we hit 1,000 subscribers, we'll do a little giveaway on this channel, and I'll send one of these to a lucky winner. If I can send. That'd probably show up in customs, wouldn't it? But that would be a pretty cool prize. So if you're interested in that, maybe subscribe to the channel. Like I said, I'm building a big arcade here in my shed, so we're going to have heaps of cool videos, retro gaming, old consoles, all sorts of good stuff. So if that interests you, hit that subscribe button. I'm pretty chuffed with that. So my second piece of art is going to be a Sonic the Hedgehog game. I'm going to mount the game case, the cartridge itself, and then the original SEGA controller. Again, I picked up a broken controller, so you guys don't get so angry when I cut the cords off. Pretty neat, actually. This case here, it's in pretty tidy condition, and so is the cartridge, which is nice. Sometimes you see this top sticker strip quite faded or scuffed, but this is in good condition. It's cool. This has a price sticker on it. This was bought at a store called Farmers here in New Zealand on the 12th. Well, the date of the sticker is December 1993. And it was $40, $39.95, which probably in 1993 was a lot of money. I guess this was the equivalent of like a AAA title now. We'd probably be paying like $120 now, right, for an Xbox game or a PS5 game. So yeah, 1993, this was $40. 12th as well, so they would have been marketing these for Christmas in 1993. What we're basically going to do is we're going to mount it using some 3M poster strips. And these may be for frames as well, but basically they're just like kind of like a Velcro strip with the 3M adhesive on either side, and you kind of just stick them together. And you do a better job than that, but you stick them together, and you can kind of just mount anything, right? So we'll just cut these into little squares. We'll put some squares behind the case, and these are slightly raised, so they will kind of mean that this is sticking out slightly in the frame, but I think it'll look quite cool. So yeah, the only hard thing I need to do is figure out what to do with the cord. One idea I had was to cut the cord, maybe, I might actually do this, maybe cut it slightly higher and poke it through the back of the board so it looks like it's got a cord, because I don't really want all this bulk of this cord in there. So that's the first thing I'm going to figure out, and then we'll get to sticking stuff on. So this is a little bit, we're cheating a little bit on the second artwork. It's a bit simpler than the first one. Drill some holes in my workbench. All right, let's, I hate snipping cords off things. There we go. What I'm thinking is we pass it through here if it's going to fit. Through there. And that'll look quite neat, actually. Kind of makes the control pad look more like an actual control pad if it's got a cable, right? So these 3M stickies, I think we're just going to snip, push them together. About there, I reckon. Probably about there. There's a little bit of an indent on the back of these frames, so I should be able to hide the cables and not have it rub against the wall or anything. How cool does that look? I'm really happy with that. Using that thicker poster strip, frame strip backing that I use, the 3M stuff, means that it's all popped out a little bit. It's not sitting flat against the backboard, so I think that looks real neat. That's going to look quite cool in my office, I reckon. Well, there you have it. A couple of bits of SEGA history all framed up. I think they're going to look really neat on my office wall. You might see them in the back of some videos in the future. Thank you so much for watching. I know this is a bit of a change from what we normally do on the channel. The last few videos we've been building a widescreen DIY arcade project. We installed RetroBat on it. We've got a bunch of things to do to it. We're going to paint it, so I'm in the process of building that cabinet. I've got other cabinets going on in the arcade. I've got a whole lot of plans for the next 6 months. So if that interests you, hit that subscribe button, come along on the adventure. If you've got any questions, comments, or anything you think I should mount, maybe, let me know in the comments. What do you think would look cool as a bit of artwork? And we'll do that in the future. And like I said, we'll give one of these away in the future as well, I reckon. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next video.